Welcome back, everybody, to the channel. I have a very fun video planned for you today with Darkhawk, Sera, Mystique, and a few other of their friends. So, Darkhawk is a very interesting 4-drop. I got the sweet chibi variant for him. He's a 0 power, but he has an ongoing that is +2 power for each card in your opponent's deck. So he synergizes well with things like Rock Slide and Korg, who both make this list, who both put cards, but mainly rocks, into your opponent's deck. Now, those are useless cards, but they buff Darkhawk, which is huge. Mystique, everyone knows, copies the last card you played if it had an ongoing effect, so she will have that same effect, which is huge, which gives us a whole lot of power for this. Now, we don't have to really utilize it with a ton of synergy to jam-pack their deck and use Wong and Rock Slide, etc., but just kind of filling in some key cards there is really, really good. But this deck really utilizes cost reduction in a very, very strong way. So we're using Sera, who's maybe one of the best cards in the game. She's a 5 cost, 4 power, ongoing. Cards in your hand cost 1 less. So we're using Sera and comboing that with Zabu, who reduces the cost of 4 cost cards by 1. And we're essentially being able to have massive turn 6s. So on turn 5, we want to play Sera, and then on turn 6, we want to be able to play between 2 to 4 cards of various types, depending on what we have. So, I mean, some examples of really strong turn 6s are Darkhawk for 3, Mystique for 2, and let's say Sentinel for 1 with Sera. That's a really strong curve right there. Or you could just do Iron Man, who ongoing doubles the power at this location, and Mystique, because they will both be reduced by 1 with Sera. Yeah, this all hinges on me playing Sera on 5, I get that, but even without that, there's still a lot of good curves that you could hit. And if you're not playing Sera on 5, you can make sure to play Darkhawk or Iron Man on 5, so then you can copy Mystique on 6 with one of those awesome abilities. So I'm actually splashing Bast in here. So now if you look at the list, the only things he reduces are Rock Slide by 3 and Sera by 1. The Rock Slide hurts because, you know, we want him to have that 6 power, but if you have Rock Slide, you might just not play Bast, depending. Sera losing 1 power is not the biggest deal, but if you look at the upside, he can boost Darkhawk, Mystique, and Iron Man all from 0 to 3 power, which is especially huge on Iron Man because that's doubling it at whatever location he goes on, so that's massive, but it's really, really good on the other two as well because they get +2 already, so they're probably going to be an 8 or a 10, but +3 is huge. And then it's really, really good on Black Widow and Zabu. Both pretty solid there. And then we have a couple 2-cost cards, and then we have a couple 2-power cards and a couple 3-power cards that don't, you know, have a ton of use with it. But I'm using it. There's a lot of other cards you could splash into this list as well to get more out of Bast, but I don't really find that you need to. I'm mainly using it just to really give Mystique, Darkhawk, and Iron Man that 3 power. Really fun combo there. We're also throwing in Shang-Chi, who destroys all enemy cards that have 9 more power. Right now, if you're playing the game, you're probably running into a lot of like Red Skull and Shuri decks, so Shang-Chi's a really good combo for those if they don't see Cosmo or armor to protect their cards. Shang-Chi really helps destroy those, and Zabu can reduce him as well as Sera, so he could be as cheap as 2 on turn 6, so you could easily play him and still play some power boosting cards of your own. It's a really, really good deck. There's a lot of different variations of it, but I find this one to be super fun. I'm using Black Widow as another way to keep an extra card in the deck, since they will get a card in their hand and they won't draw a card on that turn that they have it. Then that will keep 1 more card in the deck. But also, she's just a good annoying tool to slow down my opponent a little bit. And then Sentinel is in here just to refresh my hand, keep it really healthy so I can play a lot of things, especially if I have Sera out. And then I'm using Mr. Fantastic. He's just a solid 3-drop. He's just, you know, 6 power across the board. We're not really all in on one location, so we want to be able to swing and win any locations at the last turn. We typically don't have like clearly one location early. We kind of get all of our wins at the end. So he's just a solid 6 power across the board, 2 at each location to help us secure that. And he's also another target for Mystique to copy if you don't find Iron Man or Darkhawk. So enough talking. I'm going to jump into some gameplay with what I'm calling Bast Hawk. It's just a really fun deck, and I will kind of show you the ropes of it, show you how to play it a little bit. Hopefully you learn something, and hopefully you give this deck a try. So let's jump right on into some gameplay. Alright, we got Fantastic, Sentinel, Sera, and now Darkhawk. So all around solid hand that we're pretty happy about. Have an easy curve out, and then just hopefully we have a lot of stuff on 6. But Darkhawk I might end up playing on 6 depending on what I see before then. Most likely going Sentinel and Fantastic though. Doubt there's much I draw that convinces me otherwise. Oh, but Iceman hits Sera. That is like the worst feeling. Gotta have Sera out on turn 2, so that is brutal. I mean, on turn 5. So that's absolutely brutal that Iceman hits that. He's going Lizard in the middle, so I can probably get 4 cards here to deny that extra 3 power. We'll see. Still most likely going Mr. Fantastic, but let's see what we get. We got Silver Surfer. Interesting. Yeah, we'll go Fantastic here. And then next turn, we could go Darkhawk. Oh, he's boosting Lizard. He played Cerebro, which was created by Camp Lehigh. Very interesting. So I don't think it's an actual Cerebro deck, but pretty hilarious. So we drew Best really late, but he's still actually a really solid option to drop. He's going to boost the rest of my hand to 3, which will be Iron Man and Darkhawk and all that good stuff. So I will go Best, and I'll go Silver Surfer here. So he's only going to boost Iron or Mr. Fantastic, but it'll still be a 2 power, giving me a little bit extra power. Not bad. He's got Dracula on the left, which is a little bit scary. So we have a few different options. We can go Darkhawk now, who's a 3 power. We have Iron Man, which is great. Don't know what he's playing with Darkhawk, so I'm going to try to win the left over here. I'm going to drop Korg and Darkhawk on the left. Leaves me with a couple different options here going forward. So Darkhawk is still a 12. He played Cosmo in the middle, which doesn't do a whole lot. So I think I can win the middle with Iron Man. And I should have played Darkhawk after playing Korg, so I could Mystique that. So that was an error. You can learn a little bit there doing that. So he's going to be able to discard that. I think I can still just play Iron Man here and get a ton of power. And then he has to beat a 14 by himself over here on the left, which is possible. But I do feel pretty solid about really winning the middle. My other options are I could play like Rock Slide somewhere, like over here to really bolster that. And then just play something simple in the middle. Don't love that as much, just to tie the middle, and then he probably wins the right. So I'm just going to go for Iron Man and just win the middle. Or attempt to win the middle outright. So Iron Man's contributing 3 power. It gets plus a bunch. So he's got Squirrel Girl, which isn't going to do enough. He's going to win the right for sure, but we should lock down the left and the middle here. Discards Destroyer, so he super wins the right, but that's fine. We ended up holding it down on the left and middle. Iron Man and Darkhawk really, really clutched it out. And that extra 3 power is super nice on Iron Man with Best, so he can just boost that location. It would have been an 18, but he gets plus 6, goes up to 24. So either way, looks good there. All right, should I get another one? That, maybe Sera doesn't get hit to 6 mana from Iceman. All right, so we got Shang-Chi, Sentinel, Zabu, and Sera. So overall, a solid hand, a lot of cost reduction. There's not too many terrible hands in this deck. Really, the worst you can do is kind of draw all 4 and 5 drops to start. We got a bunch of rocks in our deck, so if we already had Darkhawk, we wouldn't mind that. Since we don't have him yet, we're kind of slightly upset with it. So I am going to go, I'll go Zabu first, just in case I draw a 3-drop that's more interesting than Sentinel plus like the rock or something weird. Zabu is just a little bit more important to get down. My guy's rocking an Apocalypse, so you can't see it on the screen, but Apocalypse icon, so I'm thinking he's a big APOC player. Alright, so we got a Sentinel, we'll just put that in the middle. I'm not going to play a rock for now. We don't have any way to buff the rocks anyway, so I'm not too worried about the rocks. So we're going to keep playing Sentinels. I mean, Sentinels are pretty dang great. We're going to play Black Widow on the left, just in case he didn't play anything there. We can start getting 1 power over here. But Sentinel is going to just continuously feed our hand. So even in a game where like Subterranean just kind of knocks out our deck and we draw nothing but rocks, we can at least do this. Alright, so Hellcow discarded my Bite and a Giganto. So we got to be a little careful of that with Giganto going down. Alright, so we're going to drop Sera on the right side here. Push us to win that location by 1 for now. And then we're going to have a very interesting turn 6 where we can play Shang for 2, Sentinel, and then hopefully we don't draw another rock. But we'll have to see. Hella comes down because they cost 1 less. Okay, so Giganto's on the right. So I'm losing the location, but I can Shang-Chi that, which feels pretty dang good. And then I can just buff the middle, or I can buff the left. I think I'm just going to go for the cheeky buff the middle play here. So it's barely going to put me over the middle. But if he commits something to the left to just to beat my 1, I'm hoping. But we'll see. I mean, hopefully his whole deck is rocks, right? That's our goal. I mean, his whole hand is rocks, but I doubt it. Not feeling super great about this. Let's see what he does. He goes with a rock and a Dracula. All right, I think we're going to end up taking it. So Shang-Chi comes out, kills Giganto, which feels great. Sentinel comes out. along with the other 2 power card that I played, I believe Korg. Yep. Comes out, puts me just to winning that by 1. Mystique is a bait and switch, does nothing. He gets 9 power from that. And we're good. We secure it, barely. Very weird game. You know, again, Subterranean is not a terrible location for this deck if we already have Darkhawk, but when we don't, it's a really awkward one. So let's try to get one more. All right, we got Best, Darkhawk, Mr. Fantastic. The Baxter building's down, so that's great. So I will go with Best in the middle. Again, here's another example. Best just hitting my hand, not really hurting anything, not, you know, helping everything, but not hurting anything too bad, which is really important. All right, so the locations are going to swap position. So I need to be careful. I do want to play most of my cards at Baxter because I do want to try to make Baxter Building a location I can win. But regardless, I can still play Fantastic in the middle. Savage Land is there now, so that's a little awkward because Baxter Building could become that location, which is definitely slightly awkward. All right, so we're going Mr. Fantastic in the middle. He's got some sweet Electro variant. Shout out to this guy. We got Darkhawk, Black Widow, Shang-Chi, Rockslide. We have a lot of good options here. So I'm going to go, I don't want to commit to Darkhawk just yet, so I'm just going to go with Rockslide on the left. Locations are going to shift. He's got Shuri coming out, so I'm sure he's playing something massive, which I'm going to attempt to kill with Shang-Chi at a future turn. Alright, so what we have to do now is we got to plan out our turn a little bit, so this is where you're going to be a little careful. You want to play Darkhawk last on this turn, so Mystique can copy that ability next turn. So I'm going to go with Darkhawk. I just said last. So I'm going to go with Black Widow first, and then Darkhawk in the middle. So I can then copy Darkhawk, or copy his ability with Mystique next turn. So he's playing Darkhawk. Oh my god, either way, this is going to be brutal. It's going to be hilarious. Yep, he Shang-Chi'd himself. He just Shang-Chi'd his own Darkhawk for 20 power. I mean, you got to just snap on that and laugh. Yeah, we get a retreat. So I mean, we're feeling pretty good either way. If he pulls Mystique, she copies Darkhawk, and I'm like dominating that location with a ton of power. But if you Darkhawk a Shang-Chi, just shame. I shouted him out because he had a really sweet Electro, but I mean, like, that is the ultimate shame move. You just killed your own Darkhawk with my Shang-Chi. I mean, there's nothing he could have done about it. It's hilarious, but we'll take the win. The deck would have functioned really nice. We would have, except if that didn't happen, if we played something normal like Red Skull, we would have been able to play Mystique first to copy Darkhawk on the left, and then drop Shang-Chi in wherever else he played that massive unit, and we should have been able to win a lot of locations there. Darkhawk is huge in this. He's 15 power because Rockslide put 2 cards in his deck, and Black Widow stopped him from drawing a card. He would have went down by 2 when my opponent drew 1 more card that turn, but still, crazy high power. This deck is really incredible. If you're, you know, trying to climb to Infinite, trying to climb up the ranks, even just 60, 70, 80. I'm at like 76 right now or so playing this, and it's great. It feels really good into pretty much every deck. You have a lot of ways to win games, so check it out. Take it for a spin, see if you like it, and why not subscribe to the channel while you're doing it? Subscribe to the channel, leave a like, leave a comment, do all that good stuff, help the YouTube grow. It really helps me more than you know, and as always, keep on snapping.